Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today I'm going to be previewing an upcoming Tier 5 Soviet Premium Medium tank in the form of the T-34 Shielded, and I wasn't quite right about this vehicle. About a month ago I thought that it might be one of the reward vehicles coming up from the second series of personal missions, but in fact this is going to be a reward for taking part in a mission marathon based around the 75th anniversary of the Battle of Kursk. This is pretty much a T-34 with space armor, so kind of like a Super Conqueror or a Super Pershing variant of the Conqueror or of the Pershing in the form of a Tier 5 Soviet medium. So it's going to be an interesting one to look forward to. First, I'm going to compare this tank to the T-34, then I'm going to follow it up with some gameplay and let you know whether it's going to be worth, well, grinding through, and specifically how you can get your hands on this tank. So let's see how the T-34 Shielded stands up compared to the regular T-34, and right off the bat we can see the damage per minute pales in comparison to the 57mm awesomeness that is on the T-34. And that's because this vehicle has only the choice of the 76mm main armament. And when you use that 76mm on the T-34, which is one of the biggest mistakes that people do make with the vehicle, the damage per minute is absolutely pathetic. If you do have this vehicle and for some reason you're not using the 57mm on that tank, do yourself a favor and make sure you are. The Shielded has slightly higher penetration on its standard rounds than the T-34 does, but as soon as we load premium rounds on the T-34, then the T-34 has a massive advantage over the Shielded variant. One interesting thing to mention is the standard rounds on the T-34 are actually APCR, a lot like the premium rounds. However, the shell velocity is 950, which is actually less than the A-armor piercing rounds of the standard T-34. And if you do fire premium rounds with the standard T-34, where your shell velocity is going up to 1,238 compared to the 950 on the upgraded premium rounds on the Shielded. Now let's take a look at the gun handling, and it's pretty good news for the Shielded here. 2.3 seconds aim time and dispersion values, which are just a little bit better than the standard T-34, means that this tank, when you combine it with the fact that its rate of fire is significantly less than the T-34 and its alpha damage is slightly higher, it will actually be able to fully aim its shots. Whereas even with a gun-laying drive on the standard T-34, you can't fire at maximum accuracy. But mentioning accuracy, 0.43 absolutely abysmal at long range compared to the rather sleek 0.34 on the 57mm on the standard T-34. In addition to this, the Shielded gets the awesome 8 degrees of gun depression that the standard T-34 gets, which is exceptional for a Soviet tank and quite out of the ordinary. Now on to mobility, and remember, this vehicle is packing extra spaced armor, so it does weigh over 3 tons more than the standard T-34, which impacts its power to weight ratio as the vehicle has the same engine power. And this also affects the traverse speed of the tank as well, so don't expect this thing to turn quite as quickly as the standard T-34. Now one thing that's interesting is that TanksGG kind of suggests that the armor on the Shielded is actually worse than the T-34, but this is not the case. And I found another website, which is whatinspector.com, which has an armor inspector 3D model layout, which actually shows that over the 45mm of frontal protection and the 45mm of lower side armor and the 40mm of plate armor over the upper side of the hull, there is spaced armor on the Shielded, which is 16mm thick, and as we can see, it protects the whole of the side of the vehicle. And also this same 16mm of turret spaced armor goes all the way around. And so this can be absolutely awesome, because if you want to over-angle the T-34, then you've got just much thicker armor because of that spacing. And that means that this vehicle is going to quite reliably bounce all about 100 and 120mm rounds of penetration. Now, while that's going to be great at Tier 5, it's not really going to cut it at Tier 6 and Tier 7, so don't think that this is going to be a very heavily armored medium tank. But you know what? Every little helps, and it does, especially against high explosive rounds or anyone who is as foolish as to load premium rounds or fire standard heat at you. We can see the effect of this extra bulk also in the form of its hit points, which are 500, which are 50 more than the regular T-34. However, I guess this spaced armor is stopping the commander from using its periscope quite as well, as its view range is 10 meters less. And so all in all, a nice balanced approach to this vehicle. It's losing the glass cannon awesomeness that you would get on the regular T-34, but improving the gun handling and just increasing the armor. But anyway, that's quite enough jibber jabber. Let's check it out on the battlefield. So here we go, we're rolling out on Westfield, and I'd like to highlight that this is a rather nice matchup for the T-34 Shielded, but how else was I going to really demonstrate the upgraded armor on this vehicle? Now, of course, we're against Tier 5 and Tier 4 opponents. I believe that's as good as this can get because the Tier 3 tanks I don't think can meet Tier 5 vehicles currently. But this tank, on the other hand, I believe can be meeting Tier 6 and Tier 7 tanks, so definitely watch out for that. And keep that in mind that while you might see the armor working in this game, it's not going to be working against Tier 6 and Tier 7 tanks. Alright. So, T-34 shielded, it's lost a lot of its power to weight ratio that the regular T-34 has to be able to be packing all of that spaced armor. But you know what, I really like the aesthetic of this tank. And the fact that, well, at least the blurb says that these were prototypes that participated in the Battle of Kursk and all of them were lost in combat, kind of adds to the tangibility of this vehicle. But I'm going to discuss all that later when I let you know exactly what you have to do to be able to get your hands on this tank. Alright, so I'm going to be taking the T-34 shielded as aggressively as I can right towards this center little mound here. And we outspot the T-34 on the way in, but that's not really down to the fact that this vehicle has less view range than that tank. That's down to the fact that I've got a good crew in this vehicle. So, a Lux just unloads a load of premium rounds at me. However, my armor holds up fairly well, and we're able to go and put 2 rounds fairly consistently into the Lux, and then spot him to allow the P-43 to finish him off. And then I come around the corner. I'm hoping to bounce the T-34 here, but there you go, that 120 millimeters of penetration that tank has, able to go through 1 out of 2 times. But this is where you want to be right now. This shell velocity gun handling feels pretty okay, and I feel like it's much more usable than on the regular T-34. The regular T-34 with the 57mm has that wild rate of fire, and the fact that its gun dispersion is just a bit worse, you definitely can't snap shots in like you can on this tank. And I'm not really feeling the poor accuracy of this vehicle at .43, but then again, do keep in mind that we are in short to mid-range combat. So of course, I must highlight actually after this game about the crew on this vehicle and how they're a little bit funny, but you will be able to use all of your Soviet medium tank crew in this vehicle, albeit that the crew are kind of messed up a little bit, as I'm going to mention afterwards. And so that will give you an advantage at low tiers, right? Because you're playing a premium vehicle, you're going to be able to use your Object 140 crew, your K91 crew, your T62A crew, your Object 430U crew. There's so many Soviet tanks in the game, right? And I'm sure a lot of you are going, oh, not another Soviet tank, but at least we recently just had the Sherman Firefly. Alright, so I'm using all the standard ammunition here. I'm just working weak points on the enemy tanks, and I'm not going to pretend like this is a heroic game. I'm a rather experienced player at this game now, and I think all of these puppies are just, you know, playing for the first time, and yeah, we can see this just isn't fair. And this is why I try to avoid the low tiers as much as possible. Although, you know, there looks like the Panzer 3J on the enemy team, and that looks... where's that Panzer 3J? Where is he? 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 Oh, wow, that Panzer 3J is already firing heat rounds in his first 1,000 games played. And the Lux, on the other hand, you know what, he was firing premium rounds right from the get-go. It didn't really help him as we managed to bounce 1 out of 4 rounds that hit my vehicle there from that Tier 4 German light tank. And there you go. That's a 3 minute and 15 round with 5 kills, 1,600 damage and 1,100 spotting. Very respectable for Tier 5. And that results in our ace tanker, and this was the very first game I played in this tank, and a high caliber. For the 1,633 damage dealt and 1,296 base experience points, this vehicle does seem to get quite a high experience multiplier. And also, one thing that a lot of you will be very interested in is this a premium tank or is it a reward vehicle? Now, the difference is in the credit multiplier that the vehicle gets, and this clearly demonstrates that this is a premium tank with full credit benefits, as that's a very respectable amount to make after resupplying 20,000 credit consumable in a Tier 5 premium. So now I want to highlight the crew of the T-34 shielded, as a lot of you will be looking at this tank as an opportunity to train up some of your Soviet medium tank crews. Now, firstly, I must highlight that the commander is not the radio operator on this vehicle, and so if you do have situational awareness on your commander, it's going to be wasted. Another interesting thing is this commander actually also is the gunner on this vehicle, and that's because there is no gunner on the T-34 shielded. And so you're going to have to do without things like snapshot or designated target or armor on this vehicle if you're planning on taking your high tier Soviet medium crews into this vehicle and not just using your T-34 commander. Another thing to mention is this is one of the few Soviet medium tanks that actually uses a dedicated radio operator, and so unless you absolutely love yourself some of the mid mid-tier Soviet medium tanks like the A-43 or the T-34-85, it's quite unlikely that you're going to have a very skilled radio operator to go in this vehicle and help out your high-tier Soviet medium tank crew. So now for those of you out there who like the look of this vehicle and want to try and get your hands on it, or maybe you're just a tank collector, now I'm going to let you know exactly how you can pick it up. And the good news is that if you're willing to do a series of missions that will be taking place over the next 50 days, you will be able to get this tank for free. And that's because if you get 30 points, and I guess you're going to be able to get 1 point each day, you will get yourself a T-34 shielded with a 100% crew and a unique style in your garage. And the other two interesting things to look out for this Kursk mission are, of course, the medal event if you're interested in that kind of thing, or alternatively, if you get all 50 points, then you're going to be able to get a unique style that can be applied to any of your vehicles, and apparently the style is historical. Now, of course, if the idea of completing, I guess, 30 missions out of the next 50 days is a bit of a turn-off for you, then it looks like the vehicle is going to be available in the premium shop right from the get-go tomorrow, as this video is going to be released, well, now. And while we're just going to have to wait till tomorrow to see exactly how hard these missions are, I've been able to figure out a couple of things. Firstly, it looks like you're going to be getting rewards along the way apart from just completing these tier bonuses that we see here. This is mostly consumables with some equipment. But more importantly, it looks like Wargaming are giving you two options, a lot like with the Italian challenge, to be able to complete these missions. One is going to be available in all vehicles that are tier 4 and higher, called the North Direction. And then there's also going to be the South Direction, where you specifically have to use vehicles that were involved in the battle for Kursk, including some premium tanks, as we can see here, which will provide you with easier winning conditions, I guess, to spend less time on the grind. So if you've got any of these German or Soviet vehicles, it's time to dust them off and see if you can get yourself a T-34 shielded. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for today. Overall, do I think that this vehicle is going to be worth playing 30 out of 50 days during your summer? Well, probably not. I'd say it's probably worth getting out there, enjoying the sunshine. Maybe if you're a parent and your kids are on holiday, you can spend some time with them, or if you're a kid on holiday, then you probably got a lot of better things to do when the sun's out, right? But we'll have to wait and see how difficult the missions are, because if you were going to play World of Tanks for about 3 or 4 days a week anyway, then maybe you can chip in the extra time to try and complete 30 out of 50 of those missions. And for the vehicle itself, it feels very solid in tier 5, but I hasten to add that it's going to do well in a good matchup, and it's going to be just very painful to play against tier 6 and tier 7 tanks. So ladies and gents, that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up, but if you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And let me know what you think about the T-34 shielded in the comments down below, and specifically what do you think about all of this Kursk shenanigans that's going on here. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Best of luck getting this vehicle, and hopefully I'll see you soon.